Today I'm joined by Murbeck, founder of Eferio, a private equity firm in Copenhagen, and a member of the Royal Capital Advisory Board as a senior advisor. Rickard is owner with International Deal Flow, and together with Rickard, we're advancing capital execution beyond the legacy model. Warm welcome to this interview.
Thank you, Jonas. Thank you.
I want to dive directly into some questions. You're the founder of Eferio Capital in Copenhagen, and you're part of the advisory board of Royal Capital. Let's begin with what drove you to build a private equity firm to begin with.
I mean, that was, to be honest, it was not a meaning that it should be a private equity firm. We started Eferio once upon a time as a software company, and we did app stores, bookstores, and so on. But when we transitioned in to become a telecom company, we realized that it's not only enough to be a telecom company. We are also then an investment company. We grow from there to now launch a full-fledged private equity company that invests into communication and connectivity in Africa.
That's really interesting. What's the thesis? Is it mainly focused on infrastructure, IT telecom? Is it Africa, or is it other regions also? What's kind of the thesis?
We are for profit, but with impact. And I will say that's an important thing for us, that we are not a charity organization. We make money, but in the same time, we go hand in hand to make impact on the society. And we do that by working on bridging the digital divide and lack of connectivity in certain areas of Africa. So we mainly invest in spectrum licenses. We invest in building operator business and enabling of virtual operators. And we invest in different ways. We should do it as our own brand. We do it together with others. We just launched something we'll talk about later, I hope. But we launched a collaboration with an American company for the whole continent. We also have a spectrum license and 5G licenses in some countries like Malawi and Burundi. And those we are going to excel here in the near future.
Brilliant. So I was thinking of capital raising, since that's what our firm do for funds such as PE firms. And I want to ask you, what challenges do private equity firms face today in raising capital and scaling?
I mean, it's always a challenge to raise capital, and it's always a pain. And I mean, the challenge for us is, I mean, even more, because many people don't understand Africa, and they don't have time to understand Africa, which means that our, the segment of capital we are searching for is limited. So that drove me to start to work with Royal Capital, because you are more active in the way of searching for capital in a very data-driven and focused way to segment and bring in the right people to talk to. So I mean, that cuts our time enormously, than to have to really look for investors through our networks and so on. Of course, networks is always the best. If you have somebody recommend you and you go straight into the decision maker, it's always the best. But the second best is to talk to the right people and at least have a chance to talk to the decision makers for this. So that makes it very attractive with Royal Capital.
Yeah, I think that's kind of sums it up quite good, actually. Is that the reason why you joined the advisory board, I guess, the technology aspect of it all, or?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a technology guy myself, but I've always worked in technology.
Yeah.
And it intrigued me when somebody have a disruptive model that
Mm.
should make things better and faster than the traditional people are doing, because most of these people that are raising capital, they are only depending on their networks, and the
Yeah.
network is just as good as your next fall, right?
Mm.
And if you're working more systematic and data driven like Royal Capital do, then we have then we have a better chance to raise the capital we need.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
that was really what attracted me to join the advisory board and also be a client of Royal Capital.
good to hear that. Thank you. Moving over to we talk more about the international deal flow that you have. You're based in Nairobi. You're Swedish originally, but now you're in Kenya. How has that location shaped your access to the African deal flow that I know you have quite much?
There's a never-ending need of capital here, as you know. Africa is the next growth engine for the
Mm.
world,
Yeah.
and the last real frontier now. When Asia is so developed, and South America is so developed, and so on and so on. So I'm sitting in one of the three hubs for in Africa. We have. If I accept North Africa, because Egypt is also with Cairo is a big hub, but Nairobi, you know, it's called Silicon Savannah
Yeah.
because of the startup scene here, and many international people relocating here to do their business. And we have the big organizations like UN and the European Union, and all those guys have their headquarters here.
Mm.
On the west side, you have Lagos, Nigeria, that also have a big market, because they have that's one country with 300 million people, and we are several countries here, but we are the same in East Africa with the number of people. So it's huge. And we also know that, well, this is today, 10 of the 20 most fastest growing countries in the world are here in Africa.
Wow.
That's the other parts. We also have, of course, shouldn't forget South Africa with Johannesburg and Cape Town, but they are
Mm.
more established and more, what do you say, European, international, and not as African as we could say. It's here, so to say.
Mm. I noticed also the project, we talked a lot about that, and we're launching the XGN Africa. It's an exciting initiative. How does that connect entrepreneurs and capital? Can you tell a little bit more about XGN Africa? It's a very interesting project.
This is our first joint venture with, I will say, it's an American company, Exchange Global, American and European, because they are also Greek. We have studied the technology they are using, which is broadcasting, but using the mobile frequencies, and they
Mm.
call it 5G broadcasting. And if you compare it with 5G or 4G or so on, 4G and 5G is 1-to-1. I send a signal to you.
Yeah.
With broadcasting, you send it to many.
1-to-1, but it's different technology
Yeah,
wise.
so now technology-wise, this is 1-to-many, which means we should focus on emergency services like alerts, society information, government information, and the technology is also long range. We need less infrastructure and less cost to reach further out. So it's very interesting.
It's also good
Uh,
for ambulances and hospitals and things like that also.
Absolutely. All these things where you need to send a lot of data is perfect. we always have the uplink also, but we need to use other technology for uplink because broadcasting is one way. It's not two ways like the other technology. So that's the downsides of it. But it has so many opportunities and it should be built out fast. So we have done a joint venture with Exchange Global, and together we set up Exchange Africa and based it the headquarters out of Mauritius. And we are now setting up the first operational companies in Kenya and Uganda. And acquiring the right frequencies and spectrum for this to happen. So, I mean, within 24 months, we hope we will be able to show a lot of impact, starting on the emergency side and alerts to save lives and give information. To then go over to the more broadcasting side where you do streaming, education, and these things. And in the end, go over to where we actually started here in Africa on the enabling side. But now to be able to do mobile virtual enabling and mobile virtual operators in a smart way and with hybrid technology. So we are not fully depending on the mobile network operators that monopolize most of the connectivity, and by doing that also makes it harder for innovation. So we hope to build an open innovation platform on top of this to enable entrepreneurs, businesses, and so on to grow.
Yeah, I feel like this is something you're burning for. You like it's a fire in you to entrepreneurship and freedom of innovation and things like that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, especially I like to disrupt. I mean, and change and enable. Not help, but enable, because we should get paid for what we are doing. And you don't help anybody by helping them and giving them something for free, but you help a lot of people by enable them and tell them that they have to pay. Because then they have the drive to make it happen, and you create sustainable business models.
It's quite interesting. You had a quite broad team there also in XG and Africa. People that have been working in the telecom industry for very long, right? Even from the Turkish side and the American side, and
yeah, well, we have. I mean, our onboarding CEO is locally from for the group CEO. He's locally here from Kenya. We have actually one of the most senior telecom engineers here. I think he has 42 years experience in telecom, and was the first guy that actually brought a SIM card to Kenya a long time ago. So our team is very experienced, but like you say, we have people that have done a lot of impacts from Turkey. We have people in Germany. We have people in Pakistan, US, and so on. I mean, the world is smaller and smaller, but if you focus together with the right competences, we could really do great things here in Africa and potentially in other places also. But Africa is focused.
Another project we've been talking about also is Munya. I understand that you've been building it, and can you share what it is a little bit more for this audience and how it fits into your vision for innovation in the African continent?
Yeah, absolutely. Munya is an energy project in the base. It's founded by two Norwegian companies, so Scandinavian technology base. They have been doing EV and EV charging in especially Norway and Sweden. So they're big on charging and so on. And the founder, Andreas Svor, Norwegian guy, decided that I mean, Africa is a new big thing for EV and for charging. Relocated his team from Oslo to Nairobi. At some point, they needed somebody with some on-ground experience and strategy, and in both financing and understanding what is happening on the ground. And I stepped in as advisor to the board and Andreas as CEO, and helped them to tailor out the strategy. And what they do is that the base thing they do is to build hubs, and we call them oases. So oasis hubs, and it's not only them for EV charging. It's actually small power plants with backup batteries and everything that makes makes it a redundancy to the grid, because all over Africa, a big problem is that the grid is unstable and goes down, and you have blackouts. But with this infrastructure, where we're now planning, and we are launching the first hubs here in Kenya to be rolled out, 250 of them. So I mean, it's like a gas station but electric.
Well, that's brilliant. When I had the employees in Africa, and I always had this issue. It's not only Africa; it's other parts of the world, also like Philippines. But yeah, I had this issue. We even bought battery and everything, but this is a huge problem solver you're done for the whole region with this Munya project.
Well, I'm not the innovator. I shouldn't take the blame for that or the fame for that. But I've helped a bit in the background with the strategy and the financing and structuring. But there's a giant, brilliant team that runs this today, and I'm happy to be a part of it and to be behind it. But it also plays very well together with Axian. Because one of the pillars for the Oasis hubs is actually connectivity and be able to bring in data and also transmit data from the centers. Because I mean, pillar one is energy, pillar two is water, connectivity, and then to handle garbage and other things from the surrounding, to take garbage for being garbage to be energy instead. And now utilize that to charge cars, but also be a backup to the grid, because the main business model behind this whole concept is to be buying and selling electricity to the national grid, and that is going on. So this project is in really starting up. We also managing now to bring in the first 500 EVs from Chinese partners to go into the traffic and into taxi companies. So we start enabling that for the taxis here, so they could run Uber and Bolt and whatever other on-demand services that people are using.
As a Scandinavian, it feels like I can feel proud on that. Some of the innovations of garbage, making garbage to energy, is now being utilized in this project, right? We have
absolutely. We have good technology in that area. I'm also proud to go back there, because I remember, I mean, my father was an engineer, and he was already in the renewable space in the 70s and 80s, and did innovation for taking out fires in garbage rooms and stuff. So with automation. So he's not with us anymore, but he would be very proud today, I guess.
Good. Brilliant. So if we move over to capabilities and the future, maybe, I think that's, or even before that, your network is huge, right? You located, I mean, you looked at structures in UAE, Mauritius. How do you see those hubs globally supporting capital execution for African and international entrepreneurs. You're very well
So
connected.
as you know, because it's your partner also, I mean, my base for capital is in Switzerland, working and advising Mandato Asset Management and their trading operations and building investment platforms out of there. But that in combination then in first hand now with for Africa with Mauritius to be able to have that as a secondary hub from Switzerland into Africa is brilliant because also Africans don't want to be conquered and colonized by Europeans or Americans or Chinese or anybody. They want to, I mean, they want to rule themselves. For us, it's important. If we invest, we should also invest from Africa into Africa. So that's a very important choice to do that through Mauritius. And that's why we are using Mauritius for this. Plus that they have from a legal and capital structuring wise, a very good system that is a combination between the UK and French system, as they have been a colony under all those years. So it's an interesting structure where 75% is Indian origin, they speak French, and they have UK law. So it's a very interesting setup, but it works, and they're very structured, and a gateway into Africa, but also out of Africa towards then Dubai, India, and other places in Asia. So if you look at UAE, I mean, UAE is growing like crazy. I will see that more of an, maybe not to build funds in that sense. If you're not raising capital in the Arabic countries, then it might make sense to put funds there. But from an operational point of view, if you run companies and you need to have multiple teams around and service operations, UAE is a great hub, and many young people would not have any problems to move there. They might have a problem to move directly to Africa, so that might be a stepping stone to eventually move and have a better life than in UAE in Africa, and have really do things on the ground. So I think those three destinations are brilliant to have. I mean, four, I will say: Scandinavia for technology, Switzerland for capital, and I mean the trust of capital. I mean, Switzerland is still Switzerland. You know, Mauritius from Africa point of view, to invest from Africa into Africa, and UAE from also from an innovation point of view, but also from a resource point of view, because if you find any resource you need in UAE for the moment, from a competence perspective and so on.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I would love to go to Mauritius. Being half Swedish, half Tamil, I mean, seems to be a lot of people from that area.
Maybe you will just feel at home and just stay there. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? If I bring my wife, that's the big sale, the biggest sale, I guess. So certificates, you talked about Mandato. Certificates are becoming a powerful tool for structuring investments. How do you see them shaping the private equity market? What role does those play?
Now I will be very frank. I mean, I don't really, I mean, I've been part of setting up venture capital structures and all those structures in Europe in the past. And, but I don't like the way venture capital works and how they suck the use out of entrepreneurs. The new investment structures we are building with the certificates and so on are based on, we do it together. I mean, we actually make the the entrepreneurs their own venture capitalists and collect a portfolio under investment vehicles, and then we issue certificates. And certificates is kind of a bond, but more flexible, that we list on the stock exchange in Switzerland. And now we have
So publicly listening, right?
published the listing. So I mean, you should you should compare it with any kind of share you're buying on the stock exchange, and you should see it in your share portfolio, which means that we now package a product that is not investable normally for institutional capital and for some family offices and so on. We make it accessible by bundling a couple of companies, maybe 5 specialist AI companies in one portfolio. They create their own investment SPV. They now issue a combined certificate, plus that we utilize Mandato as the asset manager and the fund manager to put insurance into this. So we create a new kind of product that makes it more safe for investors to invest and makes it better for entrepreneurs, because they should run the way they want without too much interference and too much dilution. They will not be as much diluted in their companies on the onset. It creates much more freedom. And I mean, I'm not an anarchist, but I like disruption, and I like to change things. And with this kind of investment platforms, I think we should really change things.
Pretty good.
I mean, that is one of the things I want to really focus on working with Royal Capitals on, to drive this, because in combination with technology and these kinds of new models for actually raising capital that de-risk a lot for the investor, it becomes interesting, right?
Yeah. And we have nearly unlimited deal flow also. So I meet a lot of AI companies all the time. So this will be brilliant, working together on meeting them. I see a huge opportunity. And then on the balance sheet, it shows up like an asset, right?
Yeah. I mean, now I mean, the entrepreneurs, if they create their own investment company, I mean, they now are a co-owner of an investment company, so they're also indirectly owner of the other AI companies. So they also create and hedge for their own success, right? They might fall, they might not succeed with their startup, but the other 4 they are partnering up with will succeed, and they have a bit of the upside of that. So they hedge a bit.
If it's 10 companies, it's even better, or 20.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have a better hedge, of course.
Yeah, I could talk a lot about that. I'm very interested. You're also looking at acquisitions in marketing automation. That's interesting for me, having that background also, especially in HubSpot-driven firms as part of an M&A roll-up. From your perspective, what makes this sector attractive right now?
I mean, automation of everything with AI, it's a key, and one of the most powerful tools out there now that are taking a lot of market shares is HubSpot. And I mean, we are now partnering up with one of the top 15 HubSpot companies in the world to really drive this to its edge, and really utilize what's in this HubSpot system that they are building to automate as much as possible. And I mean, around that, we will then add other tools for the companies that we invest into also. So I mean, this is both from driving investment for inbound prospecting, while I mean, you're specializing in outbound.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this year to have both strong inbound and outbound in the same solution is very interesting. And plus that I mean, for our companies, I mean, we need to be there and automate as much as possible. I think we are setting up now our telecom business and so on in the right way, because we will not need as many people as it was needed in the before, and people will do smarter things. We might employ in the end as many people, but we will just they will do smarter things and not these stupid things, and they might have more time to think and more time to learn and more time to do better things and so on.
Yeah, I mean, in sales, it's all about being in front of the customer. If you have HubSpot doing all the following up and everything, I know they're launching some new stuff quite soon. And for me, as being like a former marketing automation specialist and being more towards the outbound spectrum of things, building things, custom things with own custom code and everything. Let's move over to if you are to meet younger, let's say, private equity people working in private equity. It can be younger general partners, younger GPs. What do you think they should focus on to become a serious player in the next decade?
I mean, they need to focus, and they need to be. I mean, they need to be good in what they are doing in the areas. I mean, maybe I'm too broad in what I have done, what I'm doing, but I have 25 years on the ground with different technologies and doing all the mistakes that you should do and failed many times. Also have successes and so on. You need to really partner with the entrepreneurs they are investing into and treat them like equals. Not that they are better and more important than the entrepreneurs themselves, and don't try to take over. Don't try to be better than you are. I mean, the entrepreneurs should have the freedom to do what they really want to do, and maybe more focus on the exit side of it, and see how you should bring partners to them, and how you should go internationally and so on. But don't touch too much of core of the business, and especially if you're in Africa, don't bring an Indian way of doing business, or a European way of doing business, or American way of doing business, and try to implement it into the companies you're investing in. Plus, I mean, don't invest too much. Be very careful how you give people money, because we have to understand one thing about, if now I'm talking about Africa again, the mentality here is still that I'd rather have $500 today than 5 million in a year. And that sounds strange, but that's the reality. I mean, they need to put food on the table, and that's forced them to take short-term decision. But that have to change. But imagine if you give somebody that has never had money $5 million, they will get mad, and you will tell them spend it. You need to be very, very, very hard on how you do your milestones and you follow up and so on, because otherwise you will just destroy a potential successful entrepreneur by giving him or her too much money too early.
Got it. If you go beyond the Eferio, Royals, and your projects in Eferio, like XK in Africa, Munya, you're also embedded in the investor network XGener. Can you share a little bit what this network is about, and how it supports entrepreneurs globally? It's quite interesting invite only and investment only network in Xgener?
If I burn for something, it's probably this one, because it has everything, and it's also give us an opportunity to bring in people, young people that not necessarily have the, the capacity to invest. But with our model, where we acquire warrants and options from promising companies and split them up, and now let our community to buy these options or warrants for symbolic sum, and become ambassador for that company. It not only gives these our community with our ex-geners the feeling of being angel investors or investors. There's also give them insights into companies that are promising and a feeling that they are part of it. And for the entrepreneur, that we now should bring the ex-gener networks to. I mean, in 1 second, they now have 500 ambassadors that will help them with fundraising, that will help them with contacts, that will help them to sell their products, that will help them with advice and a lot of things.
Influence. I think they will have a lot of influence. This, let's say they have a social media following, and then they start posting about their investment.
Absolutely. So it's, without investing, 1 single cent more than potentially selling their shares for lower price. Some of the shares for lower price than they might have done in the next step. They now have a massive following, not a massive, but maybe 500 ambassadors that will help them grow, that will be on them and govern them. And then, step 2 is then that the ex-gener will help the companies to raise their next round of funding through the ex-gener network. And within where the people in the networks have incentive to really do it, because they will earn money, but they will also see that their warrants and or the options, the assets under them are growing. So in the end, they should make very good money. They should learn a lot, and they should become the next generation of investors that we within the ex-gener network should establish, and they will learn how to invest and what to invest in, and see the trends and all this. So I think that's it's a brilliant idea. We don't have time to go through and describe in detail what the ex-gener network is doing, but we should do that maybe on another session, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also we can interview more people that are involved, also the regulated parties. So I sense you're very on fire for this also, entrepreneurship in general, and in investing. Where do you see yourself focusing in the next 10 years as an investor, entrepreneur, and private equity owner and senior advisor?
So I think sadly, I will have to say, will go more for the financial, on the financial side of it, and work with larger capital, for the reason that I'm getting a bit older, and also that it's hard to really keep up with you young guys on the technology side, and it goes so fast.
So you're quite tech savvy, having had an IT consulting firm with 1,500 consultants in IT. I think that's you surround yourself with a lot of you have a lot of really good system engineers from before.
Absolutely. I mean, that's good. I mean, I've always I have one phone call from every technology, more or less, from the alumni of my old Thesis company, with brilliant people that have started their own IT companies all over the world. So it's I mean, that is something I'm blessed with. So
Yeah.
but it's still, I feel that it will be more on the structuring on the platforms and bringing more and more capital to the pie. I've seen that is also my strength. Now people believe in what we are saying and
Yeah.
what we are doing. So
I think also there's a culture. It's a cultural thing also. One thing that I find very attractive with you as a senior advisor and with the private equity Eferio, there is something that I also feel important is that in Royals Capital also we have this approach of that every mandate is entrepreneurs first, and that's quite
Yes.
obvious. Listening to you, that's the stance you take also, being a serial entrepreneur. So yeah, I think that's very important, and that kind of attracts the right type of LPs also to you. Just they see this these values. I think it's an important part. Thank you, Rickard, for your time, and having private equity owners like you on our advisory board is what I think sets Royals Capital apart. It's not just advice, but real practical insights. And thank you for today, and have a great day and enjoying Nairobi, Kenya.
Thank you, and enjoy, and hope to be home in Sweden soon.